Made a video a couple weeks ago talking about whether it was necessary as a nurse, as a registered nurse, to go back to school to become a nurse practitioner. I'm going to talk about 6 to 8 things to consider when making a decision on what specialty to focus on. So today's video is all about what specialty to look at, to consider, what to consider when making that decision. Hi everybody, my name is Anastasia and welcome to my channel. If you've been here before, thank you so much for coming back. And if you're new, come on in, make yourself at home. Here we talk about everything. So I made a video of registered nurse to go back to school to become a nurse practitioner, the finances and all that stuff. What to consider when making that decision. So first one is look at your personal interest and passion. It's very important to be in a work where you love. If your passion and interest is in one thing, don't go to something else just because it's convenient for money reason or whatever the situation is. So I will recommend having a personal quiet time, deciding, look deep down in yourself, deciding what your passion and what your interest is, and further your career in that way. If you like working with kids, I personally don't, so I would never become a pediatric nurse practitioner. If you are somebody that likes working with adults, that's also an option. If you like working with elderly population, that's an option. If you like working with a mother baby, women's health, that's also an option. And that's one of the beauty about nurses, is that no matter what your passion is, chances are you're going to find something that fits that passion. So look at your personal interest and your passion and see what fits into that. Now, the next thing, number 2, is looking at your work-life balance. So definitely go into a career field or a specialty that gives you the room to have a work-life balance. And when it comes to this, I would say do not only look at your lifestyle right now, but also look down the road, because having a career is a long-term thing. So you're going to be working the specialty for majority of your adult life. So right now, maybe you might not have any kids, you might not have any significant other, but you're planning on having all those things down in the future. So definitely go for a specialty that will allow you to have, what you want in your personal life and also in your professional life. Because if you have a terrible professional life, it's going to bleed into your personal life. And if you have a terrible personal life, it's going to bleed into your professional life. As much as we try to keep, those things separate, we're humans, and sometimes it's just hard to control your emotions. So definitely be in a place where you want to be, where you enjoy, and that way it just makes your own life better and easier. The next thing to consider is the job market. So, regardless of what state you are in right now, I would say look at the job market, look at what specialty is needed the most. Right here, where I live now, primary care providers are in high demands because it's just hard to get a doctor. It's hard to get a doctor. So primary care providers are in high demand. So look at where you live and see, which specialty is in need. Maybe they need pediatric nurse practitioners the most, or women's health nurse practitioners the most. So look around you, search, research, and find what specialty is, most needed around you, and maybe that might fit your passion and your interest. And in that same regard of looking at the job market, salary also matters. Like here where I live, even though they need more primary care providers, psych nurse practitioners make more money than primary care providers, which is crazy. And typically, if you are in a specialty nurse practitioners make more than primary care nurse practitioners. I think that's why more nurse practitioners go into specialty, because it just makes sense mathematically to be in a specialty. So definitely look at the salary range as well as the job market where you live to consider what specialty to go into. Next thing to consider is the kind of environment that you want to work in. So if you are somebody that likes, like a calm pace, a clinic type setting, look into that career field. If you are like an adrenaline junkie and you like, the high pace, I know somebody, acute care nurse practitioner, they like, the ER where you never know what's walking into the door and it's all, you're always, running around. If you are that type of person, definitely look into acute care setting, and see if that might be your passion. So, the setting that you want to work in matters. If you like working in like dealing with elderly patient and nursing home environment, there's room for you as well. So that is something to consider, the type of setting that you want to work into. Next is the scope of practice. So some states allow nurse practitioners to practice autonomy, like they're on their own and they practice by themselves. Not every state has that. So, depending on the specialty, like if you are in the ER or in an acute setting, you are going to be more in collaborative with your collaborative physician. So, if you don't want to be bothered by, somebody looking over your shoulder all the time, definitely go into a less I would say a less intense specialty. That way you're not being hovered over all the time. So scope of practice is very important, because if you're not a team, you don't like working with teams, that's also something to consider. Look into a specialty where maybe you're on your own, maybe forensics or something, where you just work individually on your own. You don't need anybody else working with you. That's something definitely to consider. Next thing is, I think this is five or six, 4 or 5. So next thing is specialty education. There are some specialty that requires further specialty, I know. So for example, I'm a wound care nurse practitioner, but I had to specialize. So I'm a board certified wound care nurse practitioner. I had to take an extra certification test. So after I passed my nurse practitioner board exam, I had to pass the wound care certification board exam as well to be certified. So not every career field has the specialty class exams to take. So that's also something to consider if you want to. If you're the type of person that you're like, I'm just gonna take my board exam and I'm done. I don't want to study anymore. I just want to work and rest. Then look into a specialty where maybe primary care, because I don't think primary care providers need specialty courses or a board certification. So definitely look into that as well. And lastly, I will say opportunity to grow in the field, in the setting that you want to go in. So there are, unfortunately, like it's like once you become a nurse practitioner, either you get your doctorate and then that's kind of the end of the line. So definitely look into a specialty where there's room for growth. Maybe you want to become, like a medical director or something like that. Look into a specialty or the setting where you'll be afforded to have that option as well. So these are some things that I think is worth considering. You know, personal growth, certifications, the type of settings that you want to work in, scope of practice, personal interest and growth, job market, and obviously the finance thing. So um, if you have any questions, as always, please put it down in the comments so we can all discuss. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you for your support as always. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.